Hello, hello. Welcome to the Bank Tellers, where we speak to senior bank leaders from banks across the world. I am Sheryl Chen, Head of Content at Money 2020 Asia, and today I have Kohei Ueda, Global Head Digital Transformation, Global Transaction Banking of Mizuho with us. Hello, Ueda-san.
Hi,
Good
Sheryl.
afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hi. No
Hi,
worries.
good afternoon.
Thanks for being with us today. So, as a quick intro, could you tell us a little
Mhm.
bit more about yourself and how your career has brought you here today at Mizuho?
Sure. Again, my name is Kohei Ueda. I work at Mizuho Bank. I belong to the Global Transaction Banking Department. And my role is digital transformation, which is to understand the latest technology, market trend, what kind of technology would better tackle to improve our capability or to improve our services to our clients or to have a new solution to our clients. At the same time, I'm also double-hatted with Asia Pacific Department, which is kind of a regional planning department who controls the budget for region or KPI for the regions. And one of the mission under the department is to consider about the regional digital transformation strategy, how we can utilize the latest solution, the technology, but not only for transaction banking business, but as the entire bank. So that is something I cover.
Got it, got it. So, you mentioned that and a very important part of your role is to understand the various global trends that's happening. So, what?
Right,
We've all seen, I think, especially in the last 2 years, generative AI booming across the entire world, right?
right, yeah.
Have you noticed any new ripples that's spreading across the ecosystem on what is the next big thing?
Yeah, that's something we always discuss internally. When we don't have a clear answer for that, but at least what we need to understand might be like us, the banks tackle this new technology, try to accommodate this new technology to our daily operation. At the same time,
Mm,
our clients, mainly our client, the person in charge would be a treasury department people, also trying to improve their daily operation, try to adapt to the latest technology to change their operation style or reduce their operational burden. So our client request to the bank might be different from the current request versus future request. So what we are trying to do is try by ourselves to catch up the latest technology, but at the same time, what kind of support we can do to our clients at the timely manner. So that is very important thing as a bank to support our clients. And that's always what we discuss internally.
got it, understood. So, previously we were discussing about how your main
Hmm?
focus in terms of technology is on AI,
Hmm.
blockchain, machine learning, right? So I wanted
Hmm.
to find
Yep.
out a bit more based on the recent on Mizuho's recent growth journey, coupled with your extensive experience in transaction banking and these focus areas on AI, blockchain, and machine learning in order to transform banking services
Hmm.
to value add to your customers, right? Are there any
Correct.
projects in particular that excited you the most? And what challenges did you face when you integrated these technologies?
Yeah, sure. So as a bank, we run several POCs not only limited to transaction banking business areas, and we have a dedicated department, I mean the digital transformation dedicated department in Japan at our head office level. But at the same time, each business unit or business department are asked to consider what kind of change or what kind of new challenge we can have, since those departments understand their business quite well. So for transaction banking business area, we run two POCs. One is related to a generative AI, one is related to blockchain. Actually, GenAI 1, we just finished our POC and conducted our internal evaluation. This is to support more our sales people's activity, try to prepare the right proposal or right discussion material with our clients. So that is something we are now conducting. We've just conducted. The blockchain initiative, we are tackling on a deposit token, a POC. This is something I understand the latest topic, which many banks are tackling now. So as a Japanese bank, Mizuho is also have interest for this business area of the item, and we conduct the necessary POC from last year.
Got it. So I just wanted to also understand because your role is so much about digital transformation, right? And being from a bank, especially from a legacy bank where people are very used to things working a certain way because of
Yes,
legacy. How do you tackle
correct.
that? How do you tackle that?
That is one of the difficult part when you tackle new business area, I believe. And I believe that is that because I work for Mizuho Bank or Japanese bank, but that is the basic difficulty everyone faces, especially these digital transformation initiative leaders. But what is good for us is since we are not trying to change our culture, we are trying to tackle the new things as a bank. So these new two POCs, for example, people are very supportive. So we need to obtain certain budget, we need to allocate a certain resource to run these POCs, and the blockchain one is still ongoing, but I can obtain necessary support from Tokyo head office and related departments, not only transaction banking related departments, but from the operation, IT, compliance, legal. Of course, there are lots of argument or discussion, or as to check this or that, but most time people are very friendly and supportive, and that is lucky for me to tackle new these areas under the current bank.
Got it, got it. Yeah, that's very fortunate indeed also because it sounds like across the culture, people are very receptive to change, even though they are very used to having things done a certain way.
Yeah,
That's very
but I
good.
also
Yeah,
like to mention it's not an easy journey, honestly speaking. So
definitely,
sometimes I need to
definitely.
convince head of people and request to prepare this material, and the material needs to be detailed like this level. So
Got
it's a
it.
additional work, and even I prepare, there's another or other request come, so kind of a never-ending conversation. But
Yeah,
again, why
completely
people
understand.
request me is basically they would like to support me or to support this new area of the business or POCs, but to convince related people, and since we are traditional bank, if you raise up the request to head office level, lots of people see the material and see lots of questions. So sometimes I need to rely on those conversations in Tokyo or Tokyo people. So to support their understanding, that is kind of a necessary work I need to tackle anyway. Yeah, but
Got
sometimes
it,
very
got it.
troublesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's very encouraging that, like, even when you have these difficult discussions, it comes from a place of help us help you instead of
Yeah,
instead of it being like an obstacle. It is that they really want to find out what is the best way to support you, which is very good in terms
correct.
of culture wise. Yeah, got it, got
Yeah,
it.
but at the same time,
Yeah.
of course, we have limited budget and limited resources.
Mm-hmm.
So even I raise maybe this is something we better tackle. There's a discussion and there will be the conclusion. Maybe this is not the right timing, or we'd better tackle
Got it.
another or other items because of our whatever the budget or resources. But that is a
Yeah,
necessary discussion, I believe. So in a
got
sense,
it.
I think it's a good condition so far.
I got it. Yeah, so I also wanted to ask, because you travel to Tokyo, so much of your discussions happen in Japan so often. How do
True.
you perceive the current fintech landscape in Japan, and what opportunities or challenges do you see for banks like Mizuho in this evolving environment?
That's a good question. I work in Singapore. I work in overseas from Japanese perspective. So what is good for me is can have a necessary conversation with non-Japanese people quite easily. If I station in Japan, of course, I can have a good conversation with Japanese companies in Japanese language. But which means I have, or as a bank, we have limited opportunity to have the right conversation with right people. Not always Japanese company is the best. Not always Japanese conversation or understanding is the best. So that is the reason why my boss, our general manager in Tokyo, requests me to station in Singapore, tries to expand my coverage or try to expand my personal network to have the right conversation, right understanding. Again, my role is to cover to understand what is the trend in the market, what we'd better tackle as a bank. So that's something I can get back to Tokyo, tell them this is a market trend globally, or at least APAC region.
Mm-hmm.
How about in Japan? Japan is a huge market still. And
Yep.
Japanese people still try to tackle Japanese market as a first target market. That is pretty natural. But sometimes I see the difficulty for Japanese companies are they just see Japan market only versus the Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, whatever APAC countries companies, mostly they see at least regional level or
Yep.
global level. Since that may be because the market is small, but at the same time they can speak English and they try to naturally have communication globally or regionally. And that is something as a Japanese person, including myself, and better to understand that is the kind of a global trend versus what is Japanese standard. So sometimes I have a difficulty
Okay.
try to convince Japanese staffs because they just see or they just understand Japan market. And sometimes they just don't speak English. So but
Got
that's
it, got it.
something I see from overseas and hope I
Got
answer
it.
your question.
Yeah, so it is more of because you have the perspective of both markets, right? So you have the regional perspective because you're based in Singapore, you work so closely with the countries within the region, and then when you go back to Japan, and then you say that, hey, so these are the global trends that we're seeing, and then back there they say that, but this is what we're seeing in Japan, we should
Yeah,
prioritize this instead. So you
correct.
have to convince your stakeholders. I
Exactly.
see.
One of the good example would be the one POC which I've just mentioned, the blockchain initiative,
Mm-hmm.
deposit token
Mm-hmm.
initiative. Many US banks, or even including Singapore local banks, are tackling this business area.
Yep.
So those
Yep.
information and those important people are luckily stationed in Singapore, most of the cases. So I can have a direct communication with certain people. I can get the information directly. That never happens in Japan. Only business trip basis. When they come to Japan, they try to make an appointment, then we can have that information directly. But if you physically in overseas, that totally different story. And as a Japanese bank, that is something I'm asked to cover since I work in overseas. So they
Got
understand the
it.
importance of understanding the trend in overseas. But the problem, we are a
Got
huge
it.
bank, Japanese bank, our coverage is still big in Japan. So we need to be selective. This item is only for Japan. This item should be global. Starting point of the discussion is like that. Then we can segregate who should cover the items and how.
Got it. Okay. Understand. So in the case of tokenization, countries like US, Singapore, maybe even Hong Kong, they are doing the banks, they are investing, doubling down on tokenization. I wanted to also ask and maybe just double click on this, right? Because you spend so much time embedded in these markets. Are there any examples where Japan is paving the way that they are well ahead? There are other peers within the market. So in terms of technologies or maybe a focus area, which
Yeah, that is
area
also the
is
good
Japan
question.
leading the way?
Yeah, this is maybe only my personal view, but I think GenAI usage is quite high in Japan, and people are trying to accommodate, understand the technology, and try to include the technology utilization under their daily operation. Some of the countries just afraid of using AI because for example, AI might replace your work.
Yeah.
But most of the Japanese people's understanding will be different. Of course, some people say so. But if you can use AI, you can do this new thing, or you can just simplify your daily operation so that you can tackle the new things. And for example, ChatGPT, not only limited to ChatGPT, of course, but those utilization rate is compared to other countries, I believe Japan is still high. So in this area, maybe as a country, Japan can lead globally. Of course, ChatGPT, whatever companies are not originally from Japan, but still from the utilization perspective. At the same time, as a bank, we now collaborate together with NTT Data. NTT Data is the biggest IT vendor in Japan, and we are trying to establish the local LLM for Mizuho Bank specifically. Now we are trying to have Mizuho original or Mizuho's unique LLM. So that is also something I can mention, that as a Japanese bank, we are tackling this area.
Got it. And in developing this bespoke Mizuho LLM, and previously you also mentioned that you're developing a Gen AI POC that is meant for your salespeople to better serve their clients. Will it ever be used for your bank? Like, let's say if I am a client of Mizuho, will I be able to make use of this LLM also as a product, or is it only as a tool for your employees to service me better?
Oh, that is also a good question. Still, it's only for internal usage. But that is something led by our department, but more from Tokyo head office. Now we conducted several POCs. As a bank, we now understand what can be done, what cannot be done at the current state of the technology. So then we are now considering how we can apply the technology to our clients. Including, is that the right timing, or we better just wait for a few more months or a few more years? So no, currently we are not providing any solution to our client directly, for example, but customer center, when client calls, we already improved our coverage by using GenAI. So those internal usage already there, and in the future, maybe we can extend the coverage to our clients as well. But we need to be responsible for that, right? And using AI, always responsibility is the hottest topic. We already have an AI policy, the official one, already published. But we need to be careful about the real use case, especially for client adoption, right? So
Got it. And right now, just for my understanding, when you mention call centers that is being used that you're utilizing Gen AI, it's more of like the front line to replace maybe the front desk when people call in, and then to find out more information about your bank deposits, press one, that sort of thing. Is that sort of technology? Is it what you mean by when you use Gen AI for client facing? Or are there more examples of how Gen AI is being used to better serve your customers?
actually, this POC is run by Tokyo website. I honestly speak, I don't have the detailed information. But so far I understand is the client conversation might be able to be covered by AI for the initial one. The basic thing, formally we have chat box or chat system, but the quality was not good. But after Gen AI, the quality highly improved. Now what we still need to consider is we can 100% rely on the technology, or still people must come in. And you may understand, still people must come in. Draft can be created by Gen AI, but the checking, review, and to judge whether this can be provided to our clients or not still should be judged by human natures. The humans eyeball checking is required. But in the future, those parts might be removed, or the percentage of human checking requirement will be reduced. But let's see how it goes. At the same time,
Got it.
as I said, client side also use AI, right? So machine-to-machine conversation might happen, but so far I understand is even machine or technology is improved, still human conversation is required. The simple inquiry might be covered by AI, but communication still should be there. And especially when you make a decision making, right? Which bank to be
Definitely.
used, or whether you go ahead or not. So still those parts, even technology evolves, the human conversation is required. That is my personal view. But again, let's see how it goes.
Got it. Yeah, there's always this fine balance between how you can balance delicately AI automation and human touch, right? Especially
Yeah.
if it comes to situations like you have an angry client, angry customer, and then the
Yes.
last thing they want is to be put on hold with maybe a Gen AI bot. It's
Yeah.
asking them, if you want to speak to a human, press 1.
Yeah. That's not the ideal
Okay.
situation.
No,
Yeah.
no, yeah. So, yeah, got it, completely understand. So, which is why at the end of the day, AI or robots still won't be able to completely replace our job because we will still need to have these
Yeah.
guardrails to make sure that AI is still being deployed properly
That's my
and that
view.
that
Yeah.
clients are happy. Yeah, got it, got
Right.
it. Okay. So we talked quite a bit about how Gen AI can help the customer to improve their user experience, right? So what is the unique value proposition that Mizuho can offer to its clients compared to other financial inclusions, especially in terms of digital services and transaction banking?
I see. So our bank's standard stance is to accommodate client requests. So try to understand what our clients request to our bank. If our existing service can cover the client request, that's ideal. But some of the times, our standard solution cannot accommodate all the client requests. Of course, we are not capable to accept all the requests maybe, but try to understand it and try to accommodate client requests is very important. So our approach is kind of a consulting approach. What is your objective? What you would like to achieve? Why you need this solution? Sometimes after the discussion, client says, oh, we thought this solution is required, but after the conversation, we now understand this is not required, but we need this solution. So first comes with the consulting. Then if customization is required, as much as possible, I don't say 100% try to accommodate the client request, but as much as possible, we try to make it happen. And that is the biggest part I think, can get the client trust. And that is our bank's strength compared to other banks maybe. Yeah. And AI
Got
blockchain,
it.
those latest technology one, maybe we can say the same thing. Still, those areas are new for us. We are not quite sure what kind of support we can do since we are still kind of a learning stage. But our stance is the same. If client would like to achieve something and they really need to require AI utilization, and we also understand the client requirement, and we also agree AI is the must item, then that's something that is a starter point our clients. Then we can discuss how we can support our client journey.
Okay, understand. So we are almost towards the end of our podcast. I just wanted to take a quick pivot and to find out more about you. So I wanted to understand what sort of advice would you give to someone who is aspiring to lead digital transformation in a major financial institution like Mizuho? And how has your own career path influenced your approach to leadership?
I see. Okay, my advice would be curious about various things and actively communicate with people outside your usual circles. Still, you can get the information from the internet, and some people say, oh, just access to internet is fine since lots of information is there. But from my perspective, very important information is not on web. But through the conversation, you can get insight from other people, or even the information is on the web. Through the conversation, you can get the deeper understanding, or you can get some new insight. And people sometimes can advise you, maybe you do this, you do better that. So conversation, go out from your usual circle is very important. And try to have kind of an attitude is important to tackle this digital transformation, I would say the new business of the areas. And that is my advice. Try to make that happen because talking about my career, I started my career with Mizuho Bank, but I wanted to see outside, and I once quit Mizuho and moving to one of the U.S. bank and worked in their Tokyo branch for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, my role was to lead the digital channels such as online banking, host-to-host APIs, and also I was asked to cover the latest technology, digital transformation area. So I could learn new things, how other banks, or say from Japanese perspective, foreign banks, tackle those areas, and what is the difficulty still they face. So based on the experience and knowledge, I'm now back to Japanese bank and try to make it happen as much as possible. Since I understand other banks are also facing the difficulty, but trying to overcome the situation, not only us. That's something I can deliver as my message to, especially to our seniors. So you don't need to maybe change your jobs, but trying to tackle the new things, trying to break your rules sometimes is important maybe.
Got it. Okay, so given Mizuho's ongoing digital transformation and strategic partnerships, what do you see as a top priority for your department over the next 12 months?
Yes, first thing would be, since we run POC, right, we'd better have the right evaluation, or we need to have the right decision making. Since POC is just POC, and why we need to have POC is to judge, and if you have the right judgment, you can have the right production stage. So my goal is to have the right evaluation, hopefully get the green light, try to deliver the solution, the idea to the production, make it real. So within these 12 months, that is something I would like to do. But if even I cannot get the green light, it's okay, since we have kind of a conclusion for the item with a certain judgment. If you don't try, no conclusion comes out, of course. So try new things, do the right judgment, try again to the other items, keep on going. That is the mass item, I believe, and that's something I try to achieve within these 12 months.
Got it. And final question, which is also on your future vision. So, how do you envision the future of transaction banking evolving with advancements like AI, blockchain, machine learning? And what role does Mizuho aim to play in the future?
That is a very good question. AI, including GenAI, are evolving, and the technological changing speed is very high. No one can expect what happens in the future. But at least what I can say is AI will change our client behavior, client requirement, treasury management operation, I would say. People formally can work like 8 hours per day, 10 hours a day. But if we use AI for certain item, AI can support your work 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365, right? So operation might be changed. If operation changes, then there might be a requirement for 24/7, 365 money movement. Because even you work off, money can be moved based on the certain rule. That's something cannot be achieved formally. But nowadays, that's possible, I believe. So that is the reason why stablecoin or blockchain kind of an initiatives are important for banks. That is my view. For the near future, maybe AI times blockchain this importance might be increased a lot. So that is the reason why I say AI, blockchain are the must items we try, and we should have certain view or certain conclusion for those items.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that was very, very impactful actually, especially with the part where money movement now has to be round the clock, which is why the work that you do is so important.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, and that is it. That is a wrap. That is the end of this episode of the Bank Tellers. We want to thank Ueda-san for his time today, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.